So we are discussing first canto, fifth chapter, verse number 18. It will come on the screen. तस्यैव हेतो प्रियते तको विदो न लभ्यते यद् भ्रमतामुपरि अदा तल्लभ्यते दुःखवदन्यता सुखम् कालेन सर्वत्र गभीररंहसा. So this is a very beautiful verse. Tasya yatet kovido na labhyate yad brahmatam upriyadaha tal labhyate dukvad anyataha sukham kalena sarvatra gavir ramhasa. So here it is mentioned, persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purpose, that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet Brahmaloka down to the lowest planet Patala. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in the course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them. So this is a very beautiful verse where it is mentioned that how those people who are actually intelligent and who are thoughtful, who are philosophically inclined, they should not endeavor for that purposeful end, which is should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable even by wandering from topmost planet down to the lowest planet. Now someone may say then why people they want to go from lower planets to higher planets, why they want to change planets? Then it is mentioned in the search of happiness. And then further it is mentioned that as far as material happiness is concerned, we don't have to work hard for it. Why? Because the way material miseries come, same way material happiness also comes. We don't work hard for material miseries, same way material happiness also will come. Now, when I was coming by Ola to station, so that time the Ola driver was asking me, कि स्वामी जी आपका कैसे चलता है, तनख्वाह वगैरह कैसे रहता है आपका? Then I told we depend on the Lord. Then he was telling फिर ऐसा कैसे हो जाता है, कैसे मैनेज कर पाते हैं? So then I was telling him that those who have faith on the Lord, they don't work and Krishna provides. And those who don't have faith on the Lord, they have to work like you. So then he was laughing, and which is a fact. Then I was telling him that we see all animals, they do not work, but they get their quota of happiness and distress. And if a person fully depends on the Lord, then Lord takes care of him. And if not, then he has to work hard to get. So we see that how in the pursuit of material happiness, a person keeps adjusting in this place and keep changing from this place to another place. While we are here, a person will try his best to adjust and see how he can experience some happiness in the material world. And people are trying to adjust in whatever situation they are in. You go to any place and you ask them, sir, how things are going on? They say everything is fine. Only thing, if government can make a road in front of our house, then happiness can increase. Everything is very nice. Only thing is it's raining too much. If it rains less, then it will be more better. Everything is very nice. Only thing is my son is not getting admission in good college. Only if he can get, then that will be very nice. So initially they try to adjust in the same place by making some changes. And after doing and trying everything in the same place, when they are not happy, then they want to change the place. Our village is not a good place. We should shift to city. So then they go to Kanpur city or Lucknow city, because there we see Modi government has made expressways, and we see big shopping malls are there, and so many companies are, so many facilities are. So then they change the place. then they want to be happy by adjusting in that place, and then trying their best to adjust there, then they are not happy there also. Then they say, oh, actually we should shift to Bombay or Bangalore or Hyderabad or Pune, some metropolitan city. There, things are more better. Everything is fast. Whole space is Wi-Fi. So then they shift to such cities. Then after being there, then they see here are also so much traffic. People like me, so many are coming here in search of happiness. So then they want to go to Canada, US, and then they go there. And after going there also they see, Babre, here no one talks only. People are so much into themselves and so less people. Very hard to find people. Only concrete walls we see. So then they are not happy there also. And then they want to go to moon planet. That let us change the place and go to moon. There we'll have more calm and peace. So like that we see in search of happiness, a person keeps adjusting and keeps changing. But it is mentioned that they don't become happy. Whatever the quote of happiness and distress is, that follows them nowhere, no matter where they go. They cannot get more than that and they cannot get less than that. Whatever is the quote of happiness and distress, that follows them. It is not that a person who goes to US, they don't suffer from diseases. They also become ill. They also get severe diseases. Sometimes Indians, they have an idea that, in America if we go, no matter what kind of disease we have, they have best of medical facilities and they will treat. And if you go to Kerala, you will find Americans there taking Ayurvedic treatment, and they say nothing in America worked out on us. And then we thought, let us go to India and try Ayurveda. And then they glorify how Indian Vedic culture is so special. They could not find out also, they could not diagnose also, and here they could diagnose what is the problem, and I am getting recovered. Like that. So if you go to Kerala, you will find so many Western people there. So why? Because everywhere the happiness and distress is same, although it is presented in a different form. Adi Bhautik place, Adi Devik place, Adhyatmic place, all are same, but it is presented in a different way as we change a place and as we change a form. Like in India, we may have Adi Bhautik place that are so much traffic, so much queue, so much public, is it not? Now, when we go to America, we may find, oh, roads are empty, roads are wide, you can just go very fast, right? But when the accident happens, you really go. In America, actually, in India, even if accident happens, because somehow or other you cannot take up that much speed, so you are saved. But in America, you see, whenever accident happens, no stoppage. So the distress takes another form. In India, distress was coming, 10 paisa each day. But in America, when you go, it will add up. And then on one day, 100 paisa. But the quantum happiness and distress will come to you. Only the form may change. In India, we may have some difficulties that our internet is not working only so properly. And then we may have some distress. In America, we go, everything is working so fast. But if one day it does not work, then whatever distress in India we would get every day, the culmination of that we will get that particular single day. So it appears that now things have become better, but actually nothing in the material world becomes better. Every situation we put in has a different way to give us misery. And because we try to adjust, we try to change situation, so material energy also tries to adjust and give in a different way. Oh, you're not happy in this way, okay, let me give you in another way. Then we say, okay, maybe this is better. Like that. And that's why we see, no matter where people they go, one thing is common, that people are unhappy, people are miserable. But those who are intelligent, they can think. When Prabhupada would travel, he would see all countries and he would see that how every country is miserable in certain way. Some countries are miserable because they are very poor. Some are miserable, they are coming out of poverty. Some are miserable because they are too developed. But all countries are miserable. Why? Because misery is common. Misery is everywhere. Because material world is dukhalyam asaswatam. Material world is made in this way, like that. Srila Prabhupada is writing in the purport, all these material positions from Brahmaloka to Patal, all are impermanent. So one should not get tempted by such changeable positions. He should try to get into the permanent life of bliss and knowledge, where he will not be forced to come back again to the miserable material world, either in this or that planet. And then, very nicely, Prabhupada speaks about that miseries and mixed happiness are the two features of material life. Actually, there is no happiness in the material life. Actually, there is misery only. And the mixed happiness which is written here is a relative happiness. When misery reduces, that is seen as happiness. Like if a person is a diseased and then he recovers from the disease, then we ask him, how are you? He says, I am now healthy. I am now fine. Like that. So what is the definition of being healthy for him? Not having a disease. So same way, not having a misery is seen as relative happiness, and that is why it is mentioned here. Miseries and mixed happiness, these are the two features of material life. You can go to any corner of the world, you will find lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, all these anarthas taking different shapes and forms and troubling all living entities. Any place you go, you will find people being troubled by all these anarthas. Any place you go, you find that people, they are trying to exploit material nature by manipulating material nature in different ways. And material nature also is very expert in giving them suffering in different ways. Like that. So one thing is, no matter what place we change, the primary characteristic of the material world, they remain the same. And even if one changes the bodies also, someone becomes a dog, hog, or a demigod, they also have similar miseries and mixed happiness. And no one becomes free from miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. So, aha, nidra, bhai, maithunam cha. These are the prime activities in the material world. And miseries and mixed happiness, these are the two features of the material life. So, from top to bottom, you will find people being captivated and affected by eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. This is the center of materialistic life. So we see that even the animals and we see even the demigods, they have center of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, like this. So they are always hankering how they get to eat, right? They always want to see that how they get a proper place to sleep, and then they want to mate, and then they want to protect themselves, defend themselves. So everyone has his destined happiness. See here, Prabhupada writes, no one can get more or less of these things simply by personal endeavor. There is no connection between hard work and getting money. But sometimes our mind says if you work hard, then you'll get more money. But you will find there are people, most of the people are working hard. Most of the people are working for 8 hours, 10 hours. But some of them are becoming billionaires and some of them are not having a job also. Although everyone is trying to work hard. Why? Because every one of them, they have their own quota as per karma. And as per the scriptures, it is mentioned that if someone works more hard, then it may happen that he may get some extra money. But that money is not his money, so that money will not remain with him. that money will be either stolen, or he will get diseased and that the money will go to doctor, or some case will happen, the money will go to lawyer, or some relatives will come, they'll take a loan and it will go. So whatever it takes, that money will not remain with the person. So that's what Prabhupada is writing. Even if they are obtained, they can be lost again. If someone works more hard and he may get something, but then they'll be lost again. Therefore, one should not waste time with these flimsy things. One should only endeavor to go back to Godhead. That should be the mission of everyone's life. So, actually, as per the scriptures, the moment someone gets a human form of life, his only purpose is going back home, back to Godhead. His only effort should be in a direction to go back home, back to Godhead. That is how we see in the scriptures it is mentioned. Everything else will be taken care by Krishna. But unfortunately, Krishna has given this human form of life such developed senses so that we can nicely practice spiritual life and go back home, back to Godhead. But when we get these facilities from Krishna, we feel, अरे अब तो ऐसा खाऊंगा ऐसा सोऊंगा जितना मैं एनिमल स्पीशीज में भी नहीं कर पाता था, सारी कसर निकाल दूंगा लॉर्ड बोलते हैं अरे बाप रे, मैं किस चीज के लिए दिया इसको इतना बुद्धि. But unfortunately, what happens? Our attention goes to the same activities of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But Krishna has given developed senses and intelligence not for this purpose, but for going back home, back to Godhead, to inquire about the absolute truth, to understand the purpose of life, to work hard for this purpose of life. So we should know that actually why Krishna has given these developed senses, why Krishna has given this developed intelligence, why Krishna has given this human form of life. There is one verse in Bhagavatam that Krishna first creates the animal species, but he was not happy because Krishna thought that this species does not have that level of intelligence to understand that why they are suffering. You can try talking to any animal and you try to help him that sir you are suffering, very difficult. Even human beings also, when we try to talk, when we try to preach, they also have a lot of difficulty to understand that they are suffering. So Krishna was thinking that then how they will go and they will come back to me. So Krishna was meditating like this. Then he created human beings as his own image. And this is a very special species in which Krishna has given developed intelligence by which we can understand and come back to Krishna. So those who are intelligent, they will understand that for what purpose Krishna has given this intelligence. And then they will work for that purpose. And then they will not worry so much about material happiness or opportunities for material happiness, because they are seen, but actually there is no material happiness. Only the different forms are being presented by the material energy, and it appears to us that oh, some happiness is there, but nothing is there. No matter which place we go, no matter in which situation we put ourselves, at all places we find misery only. So those who are intelligent, then they will work hard only for this purpose, that how I want to go back on back to Godhead. They will make all decisions keeping this purpose in line, that so that I can perfect my life. And as far as material happiness is concerned, that will automatically come. We don't have to worry. You will find this, this physics wala person, Alak Pandey, right? So he was in SBT third year and he failed in 5 subjects. He is in the same batch as our Alok Prabhu. And why he failed? Because he was into lot of drinking and bad habits. And now he is at such a big level. It's not that, from childhood he was working very hard, he was very smart, very intelligent. None of this. He was into drinking, he was into bad habits, he failed. So he was not like so intelligent also. But then how he is earning, only Krishna knows. Right? Because he is a teacher A failed student is a teacher. So why he is able to earn and why he got so much success? Karma, like that. Now if you ask him, then he will say, actually मैं इतना मेहनत किया, कोई भी 8 घंटा काम नहीं करता है ना, get out. That is the system which we have. All people talk like that only. But actually they have not worked hard. What hard work he has done? Nothing. But it was Krishna's plan, because he had in the destiny, he might have done some punya in the previous life. So he started making some videos. That time only COVID came. His videos became famous because he was not charging less. Maybe he was not thinking only ki my videos will be accepted only. And then we see that somehow or other, when the success came, then he started identifying with the success, like that. And that is how the material life is. You do some things here and there, and somewhere success comes, and then I have brought this success, like that. On the other hand, we see there are people who try their best to achieve something, to have success, but they don't get success. You will find IITians earning a meager salary, and you'll find a ordinary college student is earning much more than IITians also. Why? Because it depends on the karma, like that. There are people who are dropouts, and they are keeping PhD holders as their employees. Correct? But people think that no, I will see and I will get something, like that. And material energy is very strong and powerful. It highlights only the successful cases. See, majority of the population are failure cases. But one or two success they will highlight. Like in coaching field, how many would have tried? Is it not? But how many are successful cases? Very few. But then they go in our mind, maybe ऐसा ही कुछ करूँगा, like that. So those who are intelligent, they know that things will happen. I have to do my responsibility. I should play my part and should not get too much affected by the happiness and distress of this world. If we get too much affected by happiness and distress of this world, then what will happen is we'll not be able to practice spiritual life. Because time and again our mind will pull us to the happiness and distress of this world. See, you are so happy, why to practice spiritual life? And if distress comes, see, you are so distressed, first sort out this, why to practice spiritual life? Basically, he will not allow you to practice spiritual life. So devotee should know that I have played my part. Now this is mercy of the Lord. And I will try to engage this in the service of the Lord, and I will focus more on practicing my spiritual life. If a devotee does not have this kind of thought process, then very difficult. There is one brahmachari, so he had joined, and then later on he wanted to change the ashram. So devotees asked him, seniors, that what happened, why you want to change? So he was telling that, Prabhuji, I came to become Gaur Gopal Prabhu or Amog Leela Prabhu. But somehow I could not. So I thought to now go back. So see, materially, such heavy conceptions people have to enjoy. Even after coming to spiritual society and circle, people are seeking material happiness, like that. So then they cannot practice spiritual life steadily because they are getting so much affected by happiness and distress. If you get affected because you gave a class and so many boys came, people came, Prabhu kya speak karo aap, Prabhu kya speak karo, and then you start identifying, they are pumping your false ego, speaker, Prabhu, and false ego will talk, 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 and then you are moving like this, and then you tell to some devotee, Prabhu ये कर दीजिए, और वो मना कर देते हैं, तुरंत गुस्सा आ जाएगा, जानते नहीं हो कौन है, मैं स्पीकर हूँ. एंड देन ड्यूरिंग चैंटिंग टाइम क्या थॉट आएगा, जानता नहीं है, समझते नहीं है, कहाँ हूँ अभी, देखो मेरा कहाँ पहुंच जाऊंगा, अभी तो मेरा सिर्फ कल तक पे टेलीकास्ट हो रहा है, कुछ समय के बाद आज तक पे भी टेलीकास्ट होगा, उसके बाद देखना मोदी मेरे वीडियो सुनेगा, फिर योगी मेरे वीडियो सुनेगा, फिर मैं बोलूंगा तुम्हारी जगह मैं बन जाऊंगा पीएम. Or if a distress comes, then that distress affects our spiritual life. During chanting time, what thoughts come? ऐसा क्यों हुआ, क्यों हुआ, कृष्णा है तो ऐसा मेरे साथ क्यों कर रहे हैं, मैं भक्ति करूं भी क्यों, करने से कुछ मिल कहाँ रहा है, दुख और बढ़ रहा है. पहले इसको सॉर्ट आउट करना जरूरी है. फिर इंटेलिजेंस बोलती है प्रभु प्लीज चैंट अटेंटिवली. फिर माइंड बोलता है अरे करेंगे ना अटेंटिवली, यहाँ देखो बैंड बजा हुआ है, आपको अटेंटिव चैंटिंग का पड़ा हुआ है, वो तो करना ही है, मैं मना थोड़ी ना कर रहा हूँ, भक्ति तो इम्पोर्टेंट है, भक्ति तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. लेकिन अभी देखो प्लेसमेंट का इतना एंजाइटी है, पढ़ाई तो मैं करता नहीं हूँ, लेकिन इच्छा बहुत बड़ी बड़ी है मेरी, कंपनीज के नाम देखता रहता हूँ. So that's why Krishna says only yogi who remains undisturbed in duality actually can continue steadily practicing spiritual life. Most of us actually we do get disturbed by the dualities of this world, and then that affects our spiritual life. If we get a lot of success, that enters our mind. If we get failure, that enters our mind. And both of them actually are source of unhappiness only. Like Chetan Charanpur, he says, no, when he became a GRE topper, so he became happy, I am a GRE topper in whole Maharashtra. And then any person would come to talk to him, he would feel that now please appreciate. Don't you know I am a GRE topper? Inside this feeling would come. And if a person is coming and he talks everything else apart from appreciating him for GRE score, then he would feel so disturbed, unhappy. Does he not know that I am a GRE topper? Does he not know that this is the highest ever score anyone has got in GRE? So he would become too disturbed. Why? Because people are not appreciating him. Like, so in one way, is it a happiness or is it a miserable situation? Miserable situation, is it not? And every sense object of the material world is like that. Even though it may appear that there is a happiness, but in that happiness also you'll find you'll get misery only. Like that. Sometimes people feel, oh, if I get a very high paying job, then I'll be happy. But then you see how much stress they have to go through. When the recession comes and then some employees are laid off from their company, then how much stress, is it not? And such people, because they have worked in a very high paying job, now for them to take up a less paying job becomes a false ego issue. And then it becomes very difficult for their mind to accept that, now this has happened, like that. So we see if you are getting any material happiness, be ready. What will come now? Misery will come. So actually, happiness is a signal that what is coming now? Misery is coming. So that is how a devotee should know. कोई गुलाब जामुन खिला रहा है तो समझ जाइए कि प्रभु और क्या देने वाले हो. Like that is material energy. Don't become so happy. And then when misery comes, then ये क्या हो गया? Like that. But material situation is like that. On the marriage day, people become very happy, sitting on the horse and band and baja. But that all is giving a signal, Prabhu. Now misery is coming, like that. In a very decorative way, misery is coming, like that. If you closely observe, every sense object is like that. If you think about whatever experience you had till now in your life, where some charming sense object came to your life, giving you a display of happiness, and you got charmed by seeing that display that actually there is a happiness, but when you went close, then you find that there is misery, because that's how the every sense object of this world functions, that's how every sense object of this world works, like that. Like people, they purchase very expensive cars, and in India when you go, so much traffic is there, somehow or other, no matter how good you have a driver, still you will find someone who will scratch from here or there. The more costly the car is, that much he'll feel pain, is it not? Now Initially I would feel, a why pain anyway, they have insurance, they can give to the company and then they can get everything replaced. But if you give to a company, then it takes 15 to 20 days. So then that also misery comes, that array I don't have vehicle now for 15 20 days, like that. So material world is like that. Whatever you do, you'll find that that is the way to give you unhappiness. That is the way to give you misery, like that. And sometimes you'll find those who are e-rickshaw driver, they are more happy. उनका कोई स्क्रैच करेगा या नहीं करेगा कोई बात नहीं. Why? Because they are unhappy in a way that they don't have shocker, they don't have AC, e-rickshaw is open in all four direction. Is it not? They are unhappy in one way. The person sitting in the car with AC, nice soccer facility and very good absorption, everything is very good. But then small scratch, so he suffers more at level of mind. They suffer more at level of body. Suffering changes, but suffering will happen, like that. That's the way material world is designed. If someone reduces physical suffering, then mental suffering will increase. Like, you will find those who are Bollywood stars and all, physically they hardly suffer, but how much mentally they suffer because of anxiety, because of comparison, because of insecurity, is it not? They suffer like anything. Those who are big politician, those who are cricketers, physically they don't suffer, but how much mental pressure comes upon them, is it not? 3 4 innings they don't perform, people start talking, अरे बाहर निकालो बाहर निकालो. And then one inning he scores century, तेंदुलकर है, तेंदुलकर है. This is material world, एकदम ऊपर एकदम नीचे. You have seen now people, they do like that only. One new person will come, he will do little bit play, 1 2 century, people will start committing Tendulkar. And if he fails in 3 4 innings, बाहर निकालो. इसकी वजह से इंडिया हार गई. Like that. So we see that physically they may not suffer, but then mentally they suffer so much. And a poor person may have some physical suffering, but mentally he is balanced, mentally is happy. आप देखोगे उसके ई रिक्शा को कोई पीछे से ठोक भी देता है तो हे क्या कर दिया, बस फिर आगे चलेगा. I have seen, because nowadays I travel a lot, so most of the scenes I have seen, person sitting in the car coming out and shouting at a e-rickshaw wala person, but I never seen a e-rickshaw person making a car stop and shouting at him कि आपने मेरा ई-रिक्शा ठोका. वो कार वाला इतना तिल मिला जाता है, बाहर आ गया और ई रिक्शा वाला माफी मांगता है, बोलता है ये हो गया वो हो गया. So very unfortunate, no? Like that. So one has to know that material happiness is like that. But still, because of this desire, why we see opportunities in sense objects to enjoy? Because inside we have a desire to enjoy. Because we have an inside desire to enjoy, whenever we see a sense object, we get a perception like that. Oh, this will give me happiness. Oh, this will give me happiness. Like that. Like a person is lusty. When we see in case of Bilamangal Thakur, so he was lusty. So when he was reformed and he was going to Vrindavan and he saw another lady, by seeing that lady also he felt, oh, he Chintamani, he Chintamani, he Chintamani. Why? Because his desire to enjoy was so much. Same way in our heart there is so much desire to enjoy. Whenever we see a sense object, we feel a, oh, I'll get happiness here. Oh, I'll get happiness here. Oh, I'll get happiness here. So in the 15th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that what is the surface of reflection where the spiritual reality is pervertedly reflected to material existence, and that surface is desire. The moment we have this desire to enjoy separate from the Lord, we come from spiritual consciousness to material consciousness. So now in the material consciousness, what is the root of our existence? This desire to enjoy separate from the Lord. Now this desire to enjoy separate from the Lord grows multiplies and takes so many branches, twigs, and leaves, which are so many other desires to enjoy. And we see it takes such a huge form. And it all started with a root desire to enjoy separate from the Lord. Krishna is telling a person becomes so much caught up in this whole network that it becomes very difficult for him to understand also that where he is trapped. If a person wants to analyze also that how much I am trapped, where I am trapped, what is actually happening to me, very difficult. So what Krishna says, wherever you are, start cutting this tree. Don't try to understand this tree because this tree is very complex. Wherever you are, you start cutting this tree. And then how one can cut a tree? Krishna says by the weapon of detachment. So this weapon is made of detachment. And this weapon of detachment is sharpened by the knowledge and is used by the free will. So now if a person is practicing spiritual life, but along with practicing spiritual life, he does not cultivate detachment, then actually he will not get much benefited by practicing spiritual life. We hear that story, no? Bhakti Saraswati Thakur. Whole night they were sitting on a boat. Whole night the boatman was rowing the boat. But in the morning when they got up, they saw that they are at the same place. Why? Because the anchor of the boat was still there. So in bhakti, it is very important. If we are thinking that I will practice bhakti and I will also go on with my material enjoyment, then we will not grow, will not make progress. In holy names also, the 10th offense is to maintain material attachments even after hearing so many instructions on this matter. So if someone maintains material attachments and is chanting holy names of the Lord also, then very difficult for him to make any progress. So I was giving this talk in temple. So one Grasta devotee asked me कि प्रभु जी आज का आपका क्लास सुन के हमारे हृदय को बहुत दुख हुआ. और उन्होंने पूछा कि भगवान का नाम तो इतना दिव्य है और आपने बोला कि भगवान का नाम जब कर रहे हैं और भौतिक आसक्ति है तो कुछ होगा ही नहीं. ये सुन के प्रभु जी दिल बहुत दुखी हो गया मेरा. इस पर थोड़ा प्रकाश डालें. So then I was telling him, suppose now Krishna comes to you and Krishna is telling that I want to give you something, please ask. And you are asking something material from Krishna. So will Krishna force Krishna prem to you or will he give you some material thing? Then he said, Prabhuji, material thing. Then I said, same thing holy name does. Holy name is all powerful. But if we are stubborn and again we are asking for material things, then what holy name can do? Holy name will fulfill those material desires. So we see in bhakti how important it is. Among all 10 offenses of holy name, the first and the last, they are very important for a sadhaka to take care. Other 8 in between, if someone has good knowledge, he can avoid them. But the first and 10th, the first is related to ego. The 10th is related to hriday, daurvalyam, material attachments. So the first and 10th, they are very difficult to overcome. Because of ego, we tend to offend devotees. Because of ego, we tend to judge devotees. Because of ego, we tend to see fault in devotees. Because of ego, we tend to think I am better than others. Because of ego, we think that I can see fault in others. And 10th, because of material attachments. And for us, it is more difficult because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, knowing that what kind of people we are in Kali Yuga, and Srila Prabhupada having a compassion to give us a spiritual life. So Srila Rup Goswami gave principle of Yukta Vairagya. So now, if a person is not serious on the name of Yukta Vairagya, actually he can increase his material attachments. Is it not? Because externally, we can give a quoting of Yukta Vairagya. Prabhu, why you have 4 laptops? Prabhuji, for so that none of my service get affected. One laptop is for this, one laptop is for this, one laptop is for this, one laptop is for this. So the service is so important. And why to be detached? Yukta Vairagya. So if someone wants, he can justify his material attachments on the name of Yukta Vairagya. So for us, it is more dangerous. So as a devotee, one has to know that if I am maintaining my material attachments, then I'll not be able to grow in my bhakti. Because I'll not be able to cut this tree of material existence. I will be inside this tree and chanting holy names of the Lord, and I'll remain in the tree only. But chanting holy names of the Lord gives actually knowledge, gives determination. But who has to cultivate detachment? We have to cultivate detachment. And when we practice bhakti, then by the natural practice of bhakti also detachment comes. But if we want to hold on to our material attachments, then that detachment will not grow in our life. And we see that how material objects, they have not caught us, but we have caught those material objects. So if a devotee of the Lord, knowing well after hearing that how these material things they cannot give me happiness, he sincerely tries to remain detached. He understands the message given in the scriptures. He tries to take shelter of the holy names of the Lord. My dear Lord, how I am trapped here. Please help me to come out of this material situation. Please help me so that I don't become materially attached to anything of this world. Then we find that how his spiritual growth starts happening. Why? Because he is cultivating detachment also. So both is very important, to cultivate taking shelter of Krishna and to cultivate detachment, because that is the weapon by which we can cut the tree of material attachments. And by holy name, this detachment will come provided we don't maintain our material attachments. Many times in material consciousness, what is bad or what is asat, that we perceive as sat, and we don't want to leave it. And when we hear such terms, detached, renounced, then we get a fear in our heart. Kya chhodna padega? But Krishna is telling to leave misery only. Krishna is not telling. Krishna actually wants to give you the bliss. Krishna actually wants to give you ananda. And to experience that bliss, to have that bliss, we have to give miserable situation of this world. We have to become detached from things of this world. If you are not ready to become detached from things of this world, then we cannot go and have ananda of the Lord. So what Krishna is wanting us to be detached so that we can be happy. Even if someone is not a devotee of the Lord, even if someone is not Krishna conscious, if he is detached, he'll be relatively more happy than those who are working very hard for materialistic life. Only if he is detached. Just by detachment, he'll be much more happier than so many other people. Like we have seen sadhus in Himalayas and other places, they are not devotees. Many of them, they are just trying to do some austerities. Some of them are having impersonal understanding. But when we talk to them, they're so happy and detached, nothing they have, but they're so blissful like that. We had experience when we went to Badrinath this time. So we met 2, 3 sadhus. All of them are so happy and they have nothing. And then we asked him, we came, and then they said, तो आप आए हैं तो कुछ खा के जाइए. तो मैं उसका पूरा देखा, कुछ है नहीं, क्या खिलाएगा. तो एक बोरी था, उसमें से उसने कुछ चने वगैरह निकाले, पानी गर्म किया उसमें. ही वॉज नोइंग अबाउट जड़ी बूटीज इन द नियर बाय. तो सम हर्ब्स ही ब्रॉट, ही पुट दोज हर्ब्स, मेड इट हॉट, मेड इट हर्बल टी, एंड देन ही ब्रॉट सम चनास. ऐसे आप लोग खाइए, इतनी सारी मूर्तियां आई हैं, बिना खाए मत जाइए. एंड देन ही फेड. Means see, even rich people having so much, they don't have that heart to give to others. This fellow has nothing, but still his heart is so much to give and he's so happy. Why? Because he's detached. He knows material things cannot give me happiness like that. And you'll be surprised the way these selfless people they interact, the way they talk. Will be so much mesmerized that how come they are so happy like that. Although they don't have Krishna as of now, they don't have the path of bhakti also. But just by being detached, they are so happy like that. But in our case, we don't want dry detachment, but we want to cultivate love for the Lord. And we are detached in what way? That everything belongs to Krishna. We are not artificially detached that, oh, this gives me unhappiness, let me remain away. No. We know and we have to cultivate that how this is energy of the Lord. So let me engage this in the service of the Lord. Let me not try to enjoy this for myself. So that is a detachment which devotees they cultivate. When we have this detachment, then what will happen is we will start cutting the tree of material existence. So then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that for cultivating this detachment, one has to surrender to Krishna. Now, then in the next verse, Krishna says, now someone may say, okay, then I'll surrender to Krishna. And then by surrendering to Krishna, I'll cultivate detachment. And then I'll cut this tree of material existence. Then Krishna tells to Arjuna, but surrender to Krishna is not easy. It is very difficult. So now Arjuna is asking that what all difficulties come in surrendering to Krishna. Then he is saying this particular verse. निर्माण मोहाजित संग दोषा अध्यात्म नित्या विनिवृत्त कामः द्वन्द्वे विमुक्ता सुख दुःख सम्येर गच्छन्ति अमूढ़ा पदमव्ययं तत्. Krishna is telling if someone wants to take shelter and surrender to Krishna, then actually he can cultivate detachment. He can understand things of this material world cannot make me happy. He can experience spiritual happiness and then he can start cutting the tree of material existence. Then Krishna says, but it becomes difficult for materialistic people to surrender to me. Why? Those people who are not free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from dualities, who are not bewildered, only they know how to surrender to Krishna and attain spiritual kingdom. So Krishna is telling who can surrender to Krishna, who knows how to surrender to Krishna, those who are free from all this. And first one is the free from false prestige. So false prestige means I am something, I am very special. Because of me, things are happening. I am the center of the universe. That is false prestige. So because of having this false prestige, it becomes difficult to surrender to Krishna. Because we don't feel that need only to surrender to Krishna. We feel why to surrender to Krishna? I'll work hard myself. Am I less? I can get myself. Why to surrender to Krishna? We don't feel that need of dependence on the Lord, that I am nothing, I am insignificant, everything is coming from Krishna, which is a fact. See, nowadays, one disease we get, one disease can give us realization how helpless we are. Doctors also will operate, they will also say, Sir, pata nahi chal raha hai, kya ho raha hai? Like that. Like recently, our Sadhu Gaur Prabhu, he is admitted in the hospital. So you'll be surprised how suddenly everything happened for him. You see, now what had happened to him was he was walking, and because of walking, his floaters which he was wearing, so that rubbed against his screen. So because of which, small cut kind of thing happened. And then he thought it is a small matter only. So he was trying to see that how it will get recover in its own self. And then slowly, slowly it grew and pus started coming inside. So we thought it is a small thing only. Generally, we have seen, no, boil and all, it happens. Pus comes inside. You break it, remove the pus, put the bandage, then done. But because of that, what happened in his case, infection came in the skin. So when we went to the hospital and we showed him, so they said we have to cut and remove all the skin. So initially they removed only this part. The next day the infection came to the other part of the skin. Then they removed the other part. And they are saying till the time this infection will keep increasing, we'll keep cutting skin like that. Suddenly we were surprised that how this can happen to this extent. And you see how much they have removed till now, like that. Then he was telling now because of so much pain and all, he was keeping his leg like this only. So then doctor told if he keeps leg like this, then whole life he'll not be able to walk also. So he has to try walking. So yesterday I had requested him to try walking. Although it is painful for him, still he is now exercising walking also. It bleeds for him when he walks. But point is one disease, one small, no one can think, small thing and it can become to such a big skin infection. And you see how much skin is being removed like that. If a skin infection happens like that, then whole body can go actually. But still because of false ego we feel it will not happen to me. I am very special. We may find so many people dying because of heart attacks, so many people dying because of paralytic attack, so many people dying because of cancer, but still a feeling comes by material energy to me. आपको नहीं होगा. आपका हार्ट ना स्पेशल बना है. आपका हार्ट बिल्कुल प्रॉपर है. कैंसर आपको हो ही नहीं सकता है. पैरालिटिक अटैक आपको हो ही नहीं सकता है. But we see 1 out of 3 people in India is getting cancer. Do you know? How many of us are here? 1 out of 3. Cancer has increased so much. See, 30, 40 years back, hardly we would hear that cancer, someone has got cancer. Now you see, you'll find many places, na? Cancer ka yahan par ilaj, cancer ka yahan par ilaj. You have seen so many flexes outside hospitals. That means cancer has increased. Now there are hospitals exclusively to take care of cancer. That means how much cancer has increased. 1 out of 3 person is getting cancer. Like that. And suddenly you see our whole existence can be put into dust. But then so much desire to enjoy, so much desire to control, so much desire to dominate, and so much desire nothing will happen to me. That is false prestige. Because of this false prestige, we are not able to depend on the Lord. We are not able to helplessly take shelter of Krishna. We see situation of Gajendra, how he tried his best, but he saw that none of my relatives are helping me. They cried for some time, then they went. Then he tried by using his own strength. For 1,000 years he was fighting with crocodile. Then he understood my own strength also is not helping me. Finally understood that actually I am helpless. Only person who can help me is Krishna. So this feeling of helplessness does not come easy. It becomes very difficult to have this feeling that I am helpless. I have to depend on the Lord. But if a devotee is blessed by Lord, if a devotee understands his own actual position, then actually he will understand that how helpless I am. Small thing happens to me, I have no control. And if he has that kind of understanding, then he will depend on the Lord, that Lord, please protect me, Lord, please save me. Second is illusion. So illusion means when one is surrounded by sense objects, material things, material relationships, he gets a feeling that they will protect me. This is moha. He feels that they'll give me happiness. I have wife, I have house, I have children, I have vehicle, I have bank balance, I have job, I have big contacts. So then they give a feeling that they will protect me. This is moha. This is illusion. And because of this illusion also, he is not able to take shelter of Krishna. Why? Because he feels, I'll get a help from so many other people. But it is a fact, only person who can help is Krishna. No other person. We can cry seeing others in pain, but can we help them? No, we cannot help them. In case of Gajendra, all his relatives, all his friends, they went away. See, if a person gets a cancer, relatives can come and cry, but can they help him? We find that only Krishna can help. But because of surrounded by sense objects, we have this feeling that they will protect me. If I become ill, I'll go to the best of the hospitals. I am so rich. I have big contacts. I'll call Yogi or Modi if any trouble comes to me. So this is moha. None of things of this world, no relatives, no person of this world can help us. When one understands this, then he helplessly takes shelter of Krishna like Gajendra took. Avanti Brahman took that how everyone they left away, leaving me alone. Then he took shelter of Krishna, that he is the only person in my life. So when we understand that these things they cannot give me shelter. In Bhagavatam it is mentioned that expecting shelter from relatives, material relationships, material things is like trying to catch on to the tail of a dog and thinking I'll cross over the ocean. What will happen to you? Along with the dog, you will also die in the ocean. So we should know that they are false shelters. They are not real shelters. Right? But because of this moha, we get a feeling like that. And then we are not able to take shelter of Krishna. But we see in Bhagavatam, Dhruv Maharaj, he took shelter of Krishna. Dhritarashtra being preached by Vidura that leave everything, take shelter of Krishna. Then he took shelter of Krishna. So we have to know that nothing of this world can help me and I should take shelter of Krishna. Then false association, that is wrong association. And in Kali Yuga, we have to be very careful. We may not have physical bad association, but we are always taking association of our mind. And our mind is a non-devotee number one. So if we keep hearing what our mind is saying, then we are also taking association of mind. And mind being a non-devotee will help you to become a non-devotee. So as a devotees, we have to be very careful that we keep our mind busy in service of the Lord. We don't give opportunity to our mind to give his association to us. If a devotee is not fully positively engaged, then always he'll be thinking like this only. And always mind will somehow or other will convince you that all problems are happening because of spiritual life. Somehow or other mind will say, क्या मिल रहा है? ये लोग बोलते हैं अनर्थ निवर्ति, निष्ठा रुचि प्रेम, क्या निष्ठा रुचि, नींद आ रहा है जब में प्रभु, कुछ नहीं होने वाला है, कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला है, तो क्या करें प्रभु, वापस मेरी लाइफ में आ जाओ, उसमें क्या मिलेगा? See how tricky mind is, how cheater mind is it not? Struggle in spiritual life, mind will magnify that as a failure in spiritual life. But same struggle in the material life, mind will magnify that as a positive step to have a future happiness. So time and again mind will say, अरे ये लोग सब बोलते हैं, कौन गया अनर्थ निवृत्ति के ऊपर, भगवान ही जाने, कोई जाता भी है कि नहीं जाता है, भगवान ही जाने। आसक्ति रुचि भाव प्रेम क्या है ये? तो माइंड इज लाइक दैट. एंड देन माइंड विल गिव फॉल्स एसोसिएशन. अरे देखो, उसको उसी बना दिया, मुझसे पूछा ही नहीं. अरे उसको देखो, उसको प्रभु जी ने पेड़ा प्रसाद दे दिया, मुझे नहीं बुलाया. अरे उसको देखो, उसका जॉब लग गया, वो अच्छा है, वॉइस का डिवोटी भी रहा और पढ़ाई भी अच्छा किया, जॉब भी अच्छा लग गया, दोनों हाथ में लड्डू हैं उसके. मैं ज्यादा सेवा में लग गया, मेरा जॉब भी अच्छा नहीं लगा. इस टाइप का भक्ति होना चाहिए. एक साइड में माया, एक साइड में कृष्ण. माइंड का नेचर ऐसा है. समटाइम माइंड विल से प्रभु प्रैक्टिकल रहो, निष्ठा रुचि आसक्ति भाव आने में समय लगेगा, अभी मटेरियल चीजें भी चाहिए, मटेरियल चीजें भी चाहिए. ऐसे एकदम हवा में मत उड़ो, नीचे गिरोगे तो टूट जाएंगे. थोड़ा प्रेम से चलो, धीरे धीरे करके चलो, थोड़ा अच्छा खाओ पियो सो, बॉडी भी हेल्दी रहना चाहिए, माइंड भी थोड़ा पीसफुल रहना चाहिए. फिर धीरे धीरे करके हम लोग जो है माया की तरफ धीरे धीरे करके चलते रहेंगे. ऐसे. So when we read actually, especially Bhagavatam, we see that mind will never allow us to be devotees of the Lord. Somehow or other, by either postponing our surrender, or by making us complacent, or by making us proud, somehow or other mind will take us away from Krishna. Like that. And we see practicing spiritual life is not easy. We have to give more importance to Guru, Sadhu, Shastra than what our mind is saying. And that is surrender. When we overcome what our mind says and we try to follow what our mind intelligence, which is sharpened by Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, is saying. So we all have to come to that level. When our mind is proposing something, we should think using our intelligence that is it good for my spiritual life. If not, then we should not do this. Anything which is favorable for my spiritual life, I will do. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling, even if I become a dog, but in the house of a devotee, no problem. For me, the first consideration is the situation should be favorable for my spiritual life. That is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Can you imagine? He's saying, even if I become a dog, but that should be in the house of a devotee. And if I am given an option to become a king, being surrounded by non-devotees, then I don't want that option. Suppose you are getting a job in which you are getting 1 crore, but no association, and very unfavorable environment for spiritual life. And you are getting 10,000 rupees, but you are only with devotees. uh, Now everyone is saying, but when 1 crore will package will come, then Haribol. Prabhuji, I was feeling we can take. I understand situation is unfavorable, but I'll take a separate flat, Prabhuji. 1 crore I'm getting. And Prabhuji, we'll see, we'll try to preach there, Prabhuji. We'll create some association there, Prabhuji. Somehow or other, how many of you feel mind will justify to take that option? Is it not? In a spiritual way. So we have to know actually mind is mind. So this, unfortunately in Kali Yuga, somehow or other, many times we don't know how to keep ourselves spiritually busy. And then what happens is we end up taking so much association of mind, and then we become very weak spiritually. Like that. So we have to know how we remain very busy. Either you study, render some service, or do some sadhana. Whole day should be very busy to such an extent. 9 o'clock, the moment you touch your bed, you are gone. And then morning you get up 3:30, then attend Mangalarti and whole morning program. So we have to have positive association by having positive spiritual activities. Otherwise, mind will create so much problem. Always compares, always competes, always makes us insecure, always helps us to focus more on material aspects of even spiritual things also. So we should not get too much affected by our mind. At the same time, we understand that being sadhaka, we have some our material needs. So we should discuss with our superior, and under their guidance and blessings, we should accept those things so that they don't take us away from Krishna. But if we get more affected by our mind, if we go more by what our mind says, slowly, gradually, mind will take us away from Krishna. And by that time, we will realize we'll become so much non-devotee that we cannot become devotees. Mind is very intelligent. Mind will not reveal that I am not your friend. Mind will not reveal that what I have done to you until he does what he wants to do. So this false association, we have to be very careful. We have to be very busy in service of the Lord. in studies, in sadhana, take up some projects, remain very busy, think about Krishna. This is third obstacle, right? And fourth is who are not done with material lust. Means if someone is having many desires to enjoy, he can also not surrender to Krishna. See how difficult it is to surrender to Krishna, correct? You have to be free from false ego, illusion, false association, and you are done with material lust. Someone comes with a proposal for material enjoyment, you say, कुछ इच्छा नहीं. Any material proposal come to enjoy, कुछ इच्छा नहीं. This Ola driver was asking me, एक बात बताओ, तुम शादी नहीं करोगे? तो मैं उनको बोला, देखो जो भी ऐसा कपड़ा पहनते हैं ना, चाहे किसी भी पंथ में हो, वो शादी नहीं करते. देन ही वाज टेलिंग, यार मेरा तो 2 दिन में ही लड़की देख के मन बहल जाता है, तुम्हारा मन बहलता नहीं है क्या? तो मैं उनको बोला कि आप भी अगर भक्ति करेंगे तो आप समझ जाएंगे उसमें कुछ रखा नहीं. बोले सही बता, बहलता नहीं है तेरा मन? लाइक दैट ही वाज टेलिंग. तो मैं बोला, अरे आपको अगर आलू पराठा मिल जाएगा तो सूखी रोटी खाओगे क्या? फिर बोला, हाँ ये सही बोल रहे हैं. तो लोग इतना कैप्टिवेटेड हैं लस्ट से, मतलब उसका हद नहीं है. एक बार अमेरिका में एक व्यक्ति सेमिनार दे रहा था, तो ही वाज टेलिंग 80% टाइम्स पीपल आर थिंकिंग अबाउट लस्ट. तो एक लड़के ने हाथ खड़ा किया, तो उसने बोला, सर रिमेनिंग 20% में क्या करते हैं? उसका पॉइंट था कि मैं तो 100% ही लस्ट के बारे में सोचता. तो इतना ग्रॉस डिजायर है एंजॉय करने का, एंजॉय करने का, एंजॉय करने का. प्रभुपाद जी एक लेक्चर में बोल रहे थे कि कितना डर्टी ये डिजायर है एंजॉय करने का, लस्टी डिजायर, और कितना इल्यूजन में मटेरियल एनर्जी डालती है कि जो यूरिनेटिंग पैसेज है उससे लोग अट्रैक्शन महसूस करते हैं. जब मैंने वो वर्ड सुना प्रभुपाद जी का तो बहुत इनलाइटनिंग था कि हाउ पीपल दे गेट अट्रैक्टेड टू द यूरिनेटिंग पैसेज. In one way, it is the most dirty substance of the body. But because of this illusion and such a desire to enjoy, person becomes mad after enjoyment. So if a person is having material desires to enjoy, then also he cannot surrender to Krishna. But when one is done with material lust, then he can surrender to Krishna. Now you see, now you may say, Prabhuji, क्या करें, कैसे होगा? See, Krishna is doing his part. Krishna is arranging some experience for us. Krishna is giving us knowledge. Now we also have to do our part to learn from that experience, to learn from that knowledge which we are receiving. And we see those devotees who try to see what they are reading and hearing in the world, how things are happening. They try to also see from the experience which they went through. Then they understand actually there is no happiness here. It appears that there is happiness, but there is no happiness like that. And it is true for all sense objects. It is true for all sense objects. So when we are done, then we understand that there are so many lives I have wasted in the pursuit for acquiring so many sense objects and trying so many ways to become happy. But only thing I got was unhappiness. See, in some life you might have become king and you might had 1 crore wives, and in some life you might have become, um, one of the demigods, being surrounded by Urvashi, Menika, Rambha. You might be taking somaras, heavenly drunk, and you might be having best of the facilities, best of the bodies, or best of the fame, best of the name. And we have gone through all, and we have seen in the material world also people who at one time were very famous, but with time then they are gone. Only for a temporary period some aspect of material happiness comes and then it goes. But we see that none of these people, they become happy. Alexander at one time conquered almost whole world, but where is he now? He may be suffering somewhere. So one who is a devotee of the Lord, he can understand that these material desires, they cannot give me happiness, they cannot make me happy. And till the time we have these material desires, we'll be always unhappy. There is one verse, no? Bhukti kami, siddhi kami, sakala santa. Till the time we have a desire for bhukti kami to enjoy, or siddhi kami, sakala santa, will be unhappy. कृष्ण भक्त निष्काम अतएव शांत. कृष्ण भक्त जो है उनकी कोई इच्छा नहीं है, इसलिए क्या है? शांत. He is very happy. Why? Because no desire. He is very nicely situated. We see those who are sannyasis in ISKCON. They are so happy, is it not? You just give them a platform. महाराज जी आइए, बैठिए, बस. बाकी मेहनत कौन कर रहे हैं? सब लोग कर रहे हैं. पैसा कौन लगा रहे हैं? वो लोग लगा रहे हैं. सब कुछ लोग कर रहे हैं. महाराज जी बस कथा देंगे, हो गया, हरे कृष्णा, चलिए. Like that. So this is another difficulty. And then, as I was telling, the dualities of this world. If one becomes very disturbed by distress and happiness of this world, he cannot continue his spiritual life. So we have to see that we don't become too disturbed by happiness and distress. It will come. Sometimes we may become very diseased. And when you become very diseased, sometimes it becomes very insecure also. क्या होगा? और sometimes doctor they say, अगर ये इतना हो गया ना तो ये हो जाएगा. ये इतना हो गया तो ये हो जाएगा. Like when I was diseased, डॉक्टर वाज टेलिंग, अगर आपका ये नॉर्मल नहीं हुआ ना तो लिवर डिसफंक्शन भी कर सकता है. एंड देन ही वाज टेलिंग, पानी भी आप ज़्यादा ज़्यादा पीते रहिए वरना किडनी भी बंद हो सकता है. ऐसे दो चीज़ बोल दिया उसने. मैं डर गया, मगर क्या है, किडनी भी बंद, ये भी बंद. मैं पानी पी रहा था, भैया काम करते रहो. आपने देखा ना, डॉक्टर डरा देते हैं ना, ध्यान रखना आपका, इससे ये हो सकता है, इससे ये हो सकता है. तो इफ यू बिकम टू डिस्ट्रेस ना, देन ऑल्सो यू आर मिजरेबल. सो आई वाज ड्रिंकिंग वाटर, कि जाना है तो जाए, भगवान जाने भी, अपना भक्ति करो. वैसे ही happiness also. If you get too much success, don't become so much overwhelmed by the success that we are not able to practice spiritual life. Success may come. Some of us may have some either by karma or by empowerment by Krishna. We may get success and you may become very big leader. But then don't identify with that success. Know that it is Krishna's success. And I am helpless, insignificant. I have to surrender to Krishna. So this is a very beautiful verse. If any devotee wants to know, okay, Prabhu, why I am not growing in bhakti? Because we are not surrendering to Krishna. And Prabhu, why I am not able to surrender to Krishna? Then these are the obstacles. So we have to remove these obstacles. Then we will surrender to Krishna. And when we surrender to Krishna, then we will be happy. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.